Now, when we are dealing with synovial chondromatosis, usually the history and examination is quite vague. It may mimic multiple other diseases. So we have to have a differential diagnosis in our mind. There are multiple conditions which may mimic synovial chondromatosis, and that includes some benign conditions, and some of them are malignant conditions. Benign conditions include osteochondroma and multiple hereditary exostosis. Now, if usually around the knee a single large cartilaginous lesion is present, which may or may not protrude into the joint, this could be an osteochondroma, or if there are multiple lesions, there could be multiple hereditary exostosis. But sometimes one of these lesions may be actually pointing into the joint or involving the joint as well. Therefore, sometimes it becomes very difficult to differentiate whether is this the lesion a loose body, is it osteochondroma, is it MHE, or is it simply synovial chondromatosis? Because all these diseases actually present with cartilaginous lesions of various sizes and various numbers. Other benign causes include loose bodies. Now, loose bodies could be simply cartilaginous loose bodies, which due to arthritis over the period of time have actually fallen out, or this may or may not be associated with synovial hypertrophy as well. Therefore, on X-ray, it's very difficult to diagnose that it's a synovial hypertrophy and synovitis is present or not, and there may be associated with increased synovial fluid. But usually that is why on X-ray what you see is loose bodies which may mimic purely loose bodies of cartilaginous origin are actually associated with synovial chondromatosis. And then comes the myositis ossificans. Sometimes in a clinical history, it's easy to actually differentiate it from synovial chondromatosis, because with synovial chondromatosis, if there is no history of trauma, then it's less likely to be associated with myositis ossificans. But as you know, one of the theory of synovial chondromatosis is that actually the inciting event is a single traumatic event which leads to the cascade of events eventually leading to synovial chondromatosis. So if there is a history of trauma present, then probably this could be myositis ossificans. There was trauma, there was collection of blood over there, hematoma was formed, hematoma over the period of time has calcified, leading to multiple myositis ossificans. Then there are certain malignant conditions which do mimic or will look like on X-rays like synovial chondromatosis, especially when they are involving the joint. Why I'm saying this? Because if there is a usually prolonged history, if there is associated like weight loss, and sometimes pain may be very severe as well, then you should suspect certain malignant conditions. And above all, it is important to rule out these malignant conditions because the mortality and morbidity of these patients are quite high if they are overlooked. These include chondroblastoma. Now, chondroblastoma is not a kind of usually common in adult age. It's actually mainly common towards the a young child less than 10-12 years of age. But what is important is because the chondroblastoma is sometimes present in the epiphyseal region, sometimes it may or may not protrude into the joint, but most of the time it does not. But at times it's in the epiphyseal region, it protrudes into the joint and it contains stippled calcification. Therefore, it's very difficult on X-ray at times to comment that this is synovial chondromatosis and this is chondroblastoma, because even synovial chondromatosis loose bodies or cartilaginous bodies can sometimes be of a smaller size as well. There is no such thing as they are absolutely large size, and sometimes there could be one or two present only as well. Therefore, you have to keep chondroblastoma in your differentials, especially if it's a child of let's say 10 or 12 years of age, then you have to keep this in your differentials. If that's an adult of a middle-aged man usually which comes, then you should be keeping chondrosarcoma and osteosarcoma in your differentials as well. Why? Because chondrosarcoma has also a very classical appearance of stippled calcification, and if it's synovial chondromatosis of the hip joint, If it's a middle-aged man, 40, 45 years of age, with hip joint pain, locking, catching sensation, probably no associated weight loss, but if there is pain and pain may be severe at night as well, then you should be thinking of chondrosarcoma, because they both on X-ray may mimic like popcorn appearance, maybe involving the joint, maybe present around the joint as well. Therefore, it's very difficult at times to on X-ray, but just looking at the X-ray to rule out whether this is chondrosarcoma or this is synovial chondromatosis. Therefore, when we are seeing a patient with synovial chondromatosis, we should keep chondrosarcoma in our differentials. And then lastly, it's osteosarcoma. Usually osteosarcoma presents with almost in the 80 to 90% usually present in the metaphysis, with 5 to 10% present in the diaphysis. There's actually less than 1% which goes into the epiphysis. But as it's also blastic, on X-ray sometimes you cannot, just looking at the X-ray, you cannot differentiate whether this is a chondroid matrix and this is an osteoid matrix. Both would appear white, both would look white and blastic in nature. Therefore, that is important, because it could be blastic due to osteosarcoma or it could be blastic due to chondrosarcoma. Because chondrosarcoma is chondroid origin, but that is something you eventually come to know once you get the biopsy. Therefore, when you are talking about clinical history and examination, all these differentials should be in your mind, because this case could be a simply benign lesion, and it could be synovial chondromatosis or MHE, loose bodies, or myositis ossificans, or it could be a rather more sinister thing like chondrosarcoma or even osteosarcoma as well. This is an X-ray of osteochondroma of the ankle joint. Now, if you see it over here, can you appreciate a large lesion which appears blastic? Now, this could be osteoid matrix, this could be chondroid matrix, this could be a cartilaginous lesion as well. And as this is just one view, we are not sure whether this lesion is actually going into the joint or not. And sometimes a large lesion in a periarticular region can also be going into the joint, and it could be synovial chondromatosis as well. So this is one thing which you have to keep in your differentials. Then the loose bodies. If you see this X-ray, can you appreciate a cartilaginous white lesion in the joint? Now, if a synovial chondromatosis has one or two cartilaginous bodies, how would you differentiate from a single or one or two loose bodies as well? If you can appreciate, it's again a cartilaginous lesion, intra-articular, present in the knee joint. On X-ray or even on an MRI, sometimes it's very difficult to differentiate from synovial chondromatosis from loose bodies as well. But at times when you dig in deep during history and examination, you are able to differentiate synovial chondromatosis from presence of loose bodies in the joint. And sometimes actually the loose bodies occur as a complication of synovial chondromatosis. As you can appreciate it over here, this is a kind of knee joint lateral view showing deranged and advanced arthritic changes, osteophyte formation. Probably an osteophyte which has formed over here in the posterior aspect has actually shedded off and gone into the joint as well, and now mimicking a loose body. This could be the case over here as well. As we have only one view and we look at the X-ray as a whole and we see multiple other osteophytes like you can appreciate it over here, there is every chance that a part of this osteophyte may shed off and eventually form a loose body and go into the joint and may mimic synovial chondromatosis. Then myositis ossificans. Again, if you see closely, if it's involving the elbow joint, this is again a periarticular lesion with blastic in appearance, with previous history of trauma as well. It's very, at times, very difficult to differentiate just on X-ray or from the history and clinical examination to say that this is a single large synovial chondromatosis or myositis ossificans. But sometimes when you get CT and MRI and further evaluate and they again correlate your history examination and all your investigations, then you're probably able to differentiate myositis ossificans from synovial chondromatosis. Coming to the chondroblastoma, although it's usually age is very important factor. If there is an adult, less likely to be a patient of chondroblastoma. But if a child about 10 years 12 years of age comes to you with wage pain, and there is no actually associated weight loss, there is no night pain or sweats, and then this may a patient may have a problem in the knee joint, and when you get an x-ray you get this kind of a picture. At first it looks like it's basically a lytic lesion, it cannot be synovial chondromatosis, but if you look closely there is a stippled calcification which is present over here as well. Sometimes what happens is that this, instead of in this you can appreciate there is actually there is no cartilaginous break, but what sometimes there's actually a break, and this leads to actually protrusion of chondroblastoma into the joint. And probably on the MRI this is more clearly visible that it's actually going into the joint or protruding into the joint. Therefore, once this cartilaginous kind of a bead goes into the joint, you cannot exactly differentiate just by an X-ray from synovial chondromatosis. Next is chondrosarcoma, which is very important and has to be differentiated from the synovial chondromatosis of the hip joint. If you see it here, this you can appreciate there is this hazy appearance and multiple whitish things can be seen over here. This is actually a blastic lesion and it's involving around the hip joint. Usually this is another lesion which you can appreciate involving the shoulder, and when you get an MRI you can see the extent how much it is actually involving. This is involving all the intramedullary cavity and going deep into the joint. And when this is happening, this actually means that it's very important to get history examination and differentiate from a very serious problem like osteosarcoma or even chondrosarcoma. Next up is osteosarcoma. Most commonly it involves knee joint. There are actually multiple subtypes of osteosarcoma. This could be the most common type or most malignant type is actually the primary intramedullary type of osteosarcoma, which you can appreciate it over here. It's involving the metaphysis. Rarely it involves the epiphysis, but once it involves the epiphysis, it becomes very difficult to actually differentiate it from synovial chondromatosis. Classical sun ray appearance, which is usually seen with the conventional type osteosarcoma, is not always seen, and mostly it is present in the diaphysis. But if you see this picture, this is an osteosarcoma which is called as paraosteosarcoma, which is just abutting the distal part of the femur, and it may be large enough to look like it's going into the joint or protruding or communicating with the joint with blastic lesion. Therefore, when that happens, it's very difficult to just diagnose it on the x-rays, but history and examination will give you a clue that probably there would be associated weight loss, there would be night sweats, night pains, and pain may be much more severe as compared to the pain in the synovial chondromatosis. Especially there will be definitely a lot of swelling and a mass-like lesion which may be present in the knee joint, but again swelling and mass-like lesion may be due to osteosarcoma, or it may be just due to bursal inflammation which is actually occurring due to synovial chondromatosis.